Hello and welcome back to Sunday Q&A part 2. The last video was going on over the 15 minutes. The sun was coming down and it was kind of making it a bit shiny. Besides, it goes on a bit too long sometimes. So Hughes Driver Training, they got me through my medical, they've got me through my theory, they will hopefully get me through my practical if it ever reopens up again and I can jump in an 18. Done. In the meantime, me and Alice are doing fine. Right, so it's miscellaneous, and there's been a lot of miscellaneous by a guy called Domain Name Guy. Hello, my friend. Thank you for watching. Welcome to the channel. And I think what happens sometimes is a lot of people maybe binge watch. They sort of like they haven't seen the channel and they clock onto it and then they like go for a load of the videos. So I basically am the courier driver YouTube equivalent of Game of Thrones. Which, in fairness, I mean, it has been said before, I do bear a tremendous resemblance to Kit Harrison. We've both got the same amount of eyes. We've both got the same amount of ears. We've both got a chin. No, one of us has got a chin. But you know what? So he's done a lot of comments on the video, so I thought I'd bang them all into one, and then we'll go on to miscellaneous. So, Domain Name Guy, thank you very much. We did the video on running overloaded. He says, as an agency driver, he said, always carefully go through the motor. Because obviously it's very different with me, because I drive the same lorry every day. If a light goes up at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, I can see it. I've got spare bulbs in there. You know, my walk round check doesn't necessarily have to be that long, but by the time you've done a walk round and you set your sat up and you set the radio up on you know, ready to go and all that, it takes a little while. Make sure that everything's clean. But he says, you know, he says another thing. He's made a few good points that I want to flag up. He said it's worth browsing through the defects book to see if the defects that have been clocked have been put right, because you have to mark them off when they've been done. If they're not, you start to worry. He said, unless I go into a place that's got its own mechanics, or I go into a place where they weigh you on the way out and they won't let you out if you're heavy, because then you kind of know they're going to be on the money. If you're an agency driver for someone like Tesco's, you don't have to worry too much, because you know Tesco's is going to be absolutely bang on it, because they've got like a blue rating on the traffic light system. You know, I don't know if I told you this: red, orange, green. I'm a grey because I haven't been rated yet. Green, no problem. Orange infringes sometimes. We maybe flag them over. Red, they pull every motor. There's also another one called blue, and I think it's blue. And that's basically if you give the ministry complete access to all your accounts, all your records, anytime they can click on, they can see all the driver's cards and everything on their computer, then you kind of run blue. Which means, you know, they can look at you at any time, but there's no real need to, because they know you're on the money. So another thing, like I say, a load of good points here. Drivers that are looking for vans. Apparently there is a video on YouTube. I may get around to checking it out. I probably won't. It's called GS Vans. Sorry, JS Vans on YouTube. Apparently, if you're going to buy a van, it's worth looking at. I'll get around to it. I don't know. He'd come up with the idea about, how about with a handball? You know, you got a problem with a handball. What about a deposit? It's refunded, you know. So you say, for example, you quote the job at 60 quid, the job comes through 80 quid, and if there's no handball, it only gets through at 60. It's an idea. I fear that would be rife for abuse. People taking the idea, going, oh, well, yeah, but I did have to lift 3 boxes. It's like, oh. Or people say, well, I thought because it was on. It's a nice idea. I think it'd be very difficult to police that one. He also said about the lorries, he says, because I said, you know, best lorries, he said, for comfort and practicality, your auto DAF curtain side is the way forward. I agree with you. Oh, the other one we've got, the other LF, is an auto. I can't get my head around it. Where the gearbox is, because I've got this gearbox, it's like, and when you first start driving them, because you're used to driving, you know, and now all the vans are on the dashboard. So, because the way the engine is, you're changing, your gear stick is kind of like by your thigh. So from get to first to second, you're doing this. I'm elbowing. If there was a passenger behind me, I'll be banging him in the face. But you get the hang of it after a while, like, you know. Yeah, whereas like the other one, Mike's truck, it's just a circle. And it's got neutral. It basically, you've got two gears going forward and 2 gears going forward, which is forward and tortoise. So it's like stop, go, and go very fast. Or actually stop, go, and go very slow. Or go backwards, or go backwards very slow. And that's it. And I'm like, I don't know if that would get boring. Or I don't know if I'd just be grateful for when you get to the end of the day and you think, my knee's starting to ache a bit now. I presume that's something that comes in time. Also, he said, you know, going back, so the DAFs are good, Man's good for a standard drive. They say that Man's are actually pretty good and pretty reliable. The thing is, when it comes to buying a second-hand truck, there is so much more choice. Most of the second-hand trucks, out of 10 trucks, eight of them will be DAFs. And DAFs are fine. He said the Mercs are good. He said the amount of drivers that put their shoulder out trying to find reverse gear. Yeah, see the gearbox thing again, I presume. He said the new 7.5 tons drive themselves, just steer. You know, it's kind of, yeah, auto. I mean, they did say there's a Mercedes one which actually auto overtakes now. Again, they call it de-skilling, don't they? The pilots get this, which is now all they have to do is land the plane. They've got auto takeoff, they've got autopilot. When it comes down into landing, it's a bit tricky. You don't want to auto land in case you crash it. But I don't know what I feel about it. How long is it going to be with self-driving vehicles and GPS that you'll have lorries that leave the depot, drive to the next depot, back onto a bay and stop, and they don't, the computers do it. Probably not in my lifetime. And if there is, I'll just have to do what I did again, but find something else to do. He also said people are buying Sprinters and Crafters to live in. He says a huge global van life trend. Now, I've got a mate who Molly's known since the skater park. His name's Kieran, and he's trainee fighter pilot. He's proper. Them fighter pilots. He's telling me about how you black out all the time and how they've got to have these things on your legs that pump the blood because the G-force is so much that the blood just drains out your body, there's none left, and all this kind of stuff. And he's just bought himself one of them little combi vans, and he's kitted it out for like surfing and stuff in the back and all that kind of stuff. So I dare say there's also this thing, the Americans call them snowbirds, don't they? And what they do is when you're 50, 60 and all your kids are grown up and you've got the big house in Florida, that what you do is you sell it all and buy one of those great big sort of Bradley and his son Winnebagos. I said they just drive around America. They call them snowbirds because they go to the sunshine. They've got deck chairs. They set the thing up. They see other people. They have a glass of wine, sleep in a great big Winnebago. Doesn't sound so bad to me. Don't know. Kind of, yeah. Who knows what the future holds? In fairness, if I needed to convert something, I've got quite a lot of space in the back. It's just cold though in the winter. He says, curtains, right, did one on how to unlock curtains. He says, when you're pulling the curtain pole, always pull the curtain pole a metre away from the pallet. That way, when the fork truck driver if he can't see the curtain pole, he's not going to catch it. And if it's an extender, make sure it's even further away because they might catch it on the backswing. He says, also, if it's windy, get the bottom of the pole and put it on the bed. If you put the bottom of the pole on the bed, it shouldn't blow away. Like you can do that, or the other one you can do is you maybe put the bottom back, and also if you want to, belts and braces, use the straps on the side to lock that to the bottom of the bed, and that will lock it in place. So just because you don't want it banging about, it might smash into something. He said if you bend the pole, trying to get the pole in at the end is a real pain. Unfortunately, I haven't had that problem yet. So. And I think that's it. But thanks very much for all of those comments. They're all valid, all fantastic. Hope they've helped, and welcome to the channel to My Name Guy. Right, so back to normal miscellaneous. Ali Hassan, he says a Ford Transit. I live in Portsmouth. Can I make good money? Or I think it was just a normal long wheel. Well, it's a Transit. Transits and transits, isn't it? Or do I need a bigger van? My mate Nigel's got a philosophy on this. My best friend from school, and he says, what's it? Done is better than perfect. Just get started. If you want to have a go, you can sit there umming and ahhing about it. Just get started. You've got a van, get there, get involved. By getting involved, you'll know what's wrong. Rather than thinking, second guessing it, thinking I'll go that way, and then, which I hadn't done that now. Get started. If you want to change the van, you can change the van at a later date. It's not a problem. But yeah, in the Transit, you'll make money. And then you might think, well, actually, to make more money, I want a bigger van. Or actually, I found that there's a load of jobs going near me for a curtain side. Or actually, there's a place down the road that's calling for fridges all the time. I'll go and get a fridge van. Just get running and then work the rest out later. Robert Driscoll. What's the maximum mileage you would recommend on a used van? Personally, it's one of those, it's the best that you can afford. When I bought Jessica and Penny, they were both round about the 100 to 150,000 mile mark. They had a good service history and they were ex-rental, so they'd kind of been maintained. Yeah, I wouldn't. Well, I personally would start to worry at anything over the 250 to 300,000 mile mark, because a lot of them are like the injectors on the Sprinters. I know go around 300,000, and that can be expensive. But then again, I mean, I've done the one before. I think I did on the Jigsaw van, which is sometimes if you've got 10 grand, it's better to buy a van for 5 and then put 5 in the bank. I had that once with Penny. I bought Penny for £5,000 with a brand new engine. And then in the space of the next year, the gearbox went. And of course, when they changed the gearbox, they changed the clutch. The ignition system went twice. That was £1,000. Various other bits and pieces went. But every time they did, rather than buying a van for £10,000 and taking a chance, I bought a van for £5,000. Every time it needed something doing, I had it done. I remember the mechanics turning around to me. And once the mechanics opened up the hood, and he turned around to his mate. He said, "Brian," he said, "come and have a look in here. It's like a jewellery box." Everything was new, everything was shiny. So I spent 10 grand on the engine and the van, and then another 5 grand replacing everything. Just buy the best you can with the money you got. Try a van will jump out at you. It'll have the lowest mileage, even if it's not the one you're looking for. You go, hang on a second, there's one around the corner that really works. But you just buy the best you can. Ideally, I would say you try and get one for 100,000 miles, but if it's there, depends how much dough you got, doesn't it? Really. CW Logistics. Revat and saving. This is good. This again, that's why I love this channel. It's like people saying, well, I think it was Tivioso Cornwall. How'd you work out the VAT? He said, what I do is this. He said, I look at the previous year. I add up the VAT. I add up the maintenance. I add up the insurance. And then I add £1,000 on top for good measure. Then I divide that by 52. And then every week I set up a standing order to a separate savings account. So that money goes over there. He said, because if you see it in the business account, it's so tempting to touch it. What we do, because we use a factoring company, is we never, say for example, you do a job for £100 and the invoice comes in for £100 plus VAT. We only ever draw down £100. So your 20% is always sitting there. So then when it comes to paying the VAT, you can draw it down. So if you only ever pay yourself the part of the invoice that isn't VAT, if say for example at the end of each week, you can work out what's come in. If you take that minus say 25 or 30% and stick that to one side, you should be covered when the van breaks down, when the tax bill comes in. If you just say 30%, this guy has done. So very, very sensible. I guess you have to work out your own percentages, but it's not a bad idea. And at least that way, you've got a bit of money tucked away. No alarms and no surprises. Paul A. Bevan, he's just got a Merc. He swapped the Merc Citan van. They got rid of the Fiat Farino. Well, I thought that was Starsky Hutch car, wasn't it? Because it done 195,000 miles. So yeah, smaller van, maybe smaller engine, coming up to 200,000 miles before it gets a headache, gets shot. He's got himself a Merc. I think you'll enjoy the Mercs. A nice nice vans to drive. And good luck in your new motor, mate. He also says the Village Hotel chain are currently doing rooms at £29.99 each in England and Scotland. They've got no bars or restaurants, but you can bring your own food and you can get takeaways delivered. So I imagine that if you're out on the road and you're tramping, this could be a good time to get yourself a deal. I mean, I don't know if anyone else knows any other deals going out at the moment, but apparently the Village Hotel chain are doing a deal at the moment. Steve Campbell. He's been trying that circuit app. Now, I'm going to launch that probably next week, so I've finally done a video for it. And I'm really pleased because I love Steve, and he's been on the channel. I used it myself yesterday when I had the Mega Day, because I'd done a pick-up in Slough, which had to go up to Birmingham, drop that off. And then I had another one, which was on board, had to go down to Oxford, had an hour and a half kip. Because I've been running since I got up at I've been running since 2. And then I went over to Milton Keynes and I had 5 drops in Guildford and Portsmouth. And I've got to say, it's really good. I'm pleased to say it. It's at first I thought there was loads in the settings, but it's not. There's stuff in the settings that you need. It's not overly complicated or overly tricky, but it's all right, and I just went GU23LD. Beep, it's in. GU, and it boom, 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 and it all fired up on Waze. I'm using Waze at the moment, and it was just like, right, you go over there, dropped it off, done it. It was almost effortless. It's like, it's like a 13 or 14-year-old teen, like a teenage son, sort of like, there you go, just done, it's fine, don't worry about it. It was great. But anyway, don't take my word for it. This is Steve Campbell. I'm going to have to quote him. He says, I've been trying to circuit up for up to 8 drops because it's free up to 10. The other one was free up to 8. This one is free up to 10, and it's just better. It's better. I feel bad. I feel like I'm trying to sell it to you, but as my father-in-law said, because I used to do some, I'm whammering again. I was good at sales as a kid, but I hated the idea of selling people something that, like the Tin Man, like trying to sell people something they didn't want. He said that's not what sales is all about. He said with sales, what you do is you get a good product, you tell people it's a good product for decent money, they buy it, and then they ring you up and say, can I have some more of that? Thanks very much, that product's good. He said, you don't have to feel bad about it. And I just don't know, I feel like I'm pushing it. But anyway, there's a free version. I got it wrong. It's not for 30 days, it's for 7 days. Please try it if you're into the multi-drop thing. I think it's ace. But anyway, Steve Campbell says, and this is his words, not mine, you can look at it if you want. He says, I've been trying it up to 8 drops because he's doing the takeaway deliveries at the moment. He said, and I found it great. He said, I thought I knew my local area like the back of my hand, but the circuit app has saved me time. So there you go. Try it if you like. It's out there. You can get it from the end screen. You can go to the website, give it a bash. Let me know. That's enough advertising now. Jim Bob, he says, when I pass my truck licenses, can I come and work for you? Jim Bob, at the moment, I've only got 3 lorries and I'm driving one of them, and the other 2 are kind of taking place. But when you do pass, if there is space, please give me another shout. And if there's availability, of course, you can go and work for me, mate. No problem. A Hambone, it says, regarding transport managers, he's been asked £350 a month plus £100 extra for each truck. Some of them are just money grabbers. It depends. Like I say, my mate Daniel, superhero, transport manager, I've got to see him on Sunday, he's coming over. He does me a favour because he's a mate. Also because he knows that I only run 3 trucks. He knows I'm on top of it. He knows that we've only got 3 drivers, each running each truck. It's a different kettle of fish. It's very easy. If you're driving like a fleet of Arctics and there's a different driver in and out the Arctic every day, it's a lot more for that manager to do. So it depends on your situation. It depends on his situation. But at the end of the day, hopefully you'll be making the money to cover it. On the gardening channel with Ray, he watched the video on the X2. He said that looks like it's Heathrow. It is Heathrow. I'm looking at the X2. If I turn my back, I'd see aeroplanes. It's the big drive around with the what do you call them? Lights. Oh, that's the outside I'm saying. I can't, street lights. The street light poles, they've got tiny little cameras on them, speed cameras. I don't think they're valid speed cameras, but they're on there, they're checking the speed. So, but yes, that X2 is Heathrow. Robert Driscoll, he says he's had so many negative responses on social media, he's hesitant to start. What can I say? All I do is call it like I see it. Start, don't start. If you do start, I hope it works out for you. If you do start, when you ring them, tell them you've watched the videos. Say, apparently you offer a free month or something like that. If they say, well, we'll offer it to Pete, say no, Pete doesn't want it. Pete says, give it to me, because they don't give me nothing anyway. But no, if you do start, get the best deal you can. I'm sure they'll speak to you. But I say, I still think it's worth it, but up to you guys at the end of the day. Lost Scotsman on the HGVs. He's thinking of going solo, maybe getting an O, maybe a van to start. I would say, like I say, if I was to advise, I actually spoke to another guy on the telephone, and he's got a few quid behind him down in Portsmouth, thinking about getting an 18 tonne. And I said I definitely would go for that, particularly down Portsmouth, because you've got Portsmouth, Southampton. A lot of stuff comes out of the docks, and a lot of it is too heavy for a Luton van. But if you are watching this video, I know you said it's going to take you 2 to 3 months. He's currently working for the council. He's doing again, it's not council. Council running around in an 18 tonne. He's getting 80 quid a day. 8 hour day, 80 quid a day, or 80, something like that. And I think if you're thinking about joining the CX, seriously, I know you want that dough for the lorry, but I would seriously consider getting a Luton. A Luton curtain with a tail, running around in that for 2-3 months, getting used to the idea. He don't mind tramping, he said as well, getting used to the idea of running around on the CX and the Luton van, then upgrading to the lorry when the O comes in. Because I dare say that O could take you at least 4 months, possibly 6. And you've got 6 months doing that job you don't want to do no more. Alternatively, if your situation is set up there, but I would definitely, in this man's situation, I would recommend getting an 18 tonne. If you've got somewhere to park it, you can get the O, I reckon you'll be flying. If you can get, coming out of that area particularly, should be a blinder. Should be, again, I can only call it as I see it. I could be wrong. But yeah, so down and run, he's thinking about maybe getting an O. Rates per miles. I've done a video on this. I try and charge about 2 to 250 a mile. The 18 tons get 250 to 3 a mile. You don't always get it. A job came in earlier and I bid on it. It was going from Hatfield going down to Bristol or something like that. I bid on it and I bid 300 quid for 150 miles, but it was 3 ton. And then Al's run me and said it's 3 ton. I went, I can't take 3 ton. I maybe would consider taking 2.5 ton if it was round the corner, which is kind of really pushing it. But I can't take 3 ton. He said, fine, I'll give it. He said, the woman says, but she wants to pay like, 7.5 ton wages. I said, but it ain't 7.5 ton, is it? He said, but the thing is, he said, on distance on the 18 tons, we're not getting the money anyway. So he said, we booked it in the end. We booked it on an 18 ton. Hopefully they'll get something coming back, but Bristol's not always that easy. But I would say rates per mile, hopefully 2 to 250 on a 7.5 ton, 250 to 3 on an 18 ton. And he said, and as a new company, will I get jobs? I don't know if I've done a video on this. If I have, I'll do a link. But yeah, you just got to ring them, talk to them, explain you're new, have a crack on with them. Yeah, it's on. I did one. It's the 3 things that will win you a job. Watch the video, it'll fill you in. So, if I've done a link, I might have done it by now. You get busy. And you get, bless him, man, you can see why. He says, he said, I was 6 hours on a bay at Sainsbury's, waiting to get unloaded 8 pallets. I know, mate. I've done Sainsbury's recently twice, the one over in Huntingdon. And the system is fine. They do it in like order. Once they've booked you in, if you've got a booking time, you're going to have to do the booking time. Then once you're in, they'll do you in order. But the frustrating thing, he said, anyway, look, just quickly, he said, the plus side, I got paid for it. The minus side, it was Friday. And you're on that bay, and you go in, you back up to do the doors, back up to the bay. They've got this fancy little thing next to the bay where it's got like a carabiner on a bit of string, a button and a light. When I pulled in, the woman actually had like a mock-up of it. I went, that's fantastic. I said, did you make that on Blue Peter? It was brilliant. But what you have to do, you put the keys on the carabiner, that pulls down the string, so there's a little wait, so they let you know that you haven't got the keys. Then you have to hit the button and a light comes on. So that tells them in the warehouse that you are there being unloaded. Then you have to sit in the passenger seat, because you're not allowed to sit in, which in fairness you're supposed to do if you want a break anyway. But what they will then do is they will unload them in order. So if there's like 4 or 5 Arctics in front of you with 26 pallets on, they will do all of them before they do your one. And I have said to the woman on the gate, and I went, look, I've got 6 pallets. I can take these off myself. I've got a pallet truck. I've got a tail lift. I can take these off myself. I'll have my... No. They won't have it. They won't even let you in the van. If you have one pallet that weighed 10 kilos, still got in a lorry. Vans ain't allowed in. So just the way it is, I understand your chagrin. And do you know the problem? It's not the fact, okay, you're getting paid for it. You sit and watch TV. It's soul destroying. Just you don't become a truck driver to sit in the front of a lorry and watch TV. I mean, it's different for me. I make videos, or I write down comments, or I've got a computer. If I want to, I can write my book, but I never do that, to be honest with you, because it takes me a while to get my head into it. But you don't want to be sitting on a bay. You want to be driving. You want to be seeing the world. You want to be talking to people. That's the fun of the job. Sitting on a bay destroy you. Horrible. And one last one, Arpad. I just answered your question there, Arpad, inadvertently. Do you have a pump truck on the 18-ton rigids? All of them have got pump trucks. My setup, an ideal setup, if you can put it, is an 18-ton. I would recommend, if you can put it, I would recommend an 18-ton DAF CF with a sleeper cab, double curtain side, tuck under tail lift, and on board you want 5-ton straps, and you want maybe a couple of blankets, some corners for the pallets when you put them, when you have to strap them over. They don't get used often. You want a pallet truck and a chock, and also I love my extendable 2.5-ton extendable ratchet strap, because if your pallet truck is just on a chock and you get stopped by a Vosa, that ain't good enough. It needs to be strapped down. But I pop it on the chock and then I put the pallet truck over it, and that is in my mind, that is the ideal setup. I personally, when I do pass, if I ever huge driver training ever take me out after the lockdown, I'm thinking about getting a 26, only because it's just got that extra little bit of length. So if you've got to move 16 pallets, you very, very rarely get jobs on the CX that ask for more than 18 ton. But sometimes they will say 18 ton, 16 pallets. Can't be double stacked. In which case they actually need a 26. And I kind of think you might just have the edge because there ain't that many 26s out there at short notice. So that's it. The final conclusion, as always. This week goes to Van on the Run. You know, I did the video about getting a pull by the police. I said, if you get a tug, he said, when I was at school, getting a tug meant something very different. And then he left a big gap and he went, sorry. Didn't make me laugh. But yes. What can I say? Mate, it's a family show. I get that from, just quickly, because I'll bent your ear again, haven't I? You remember the Fast Show? Used to do a sketch called That's Amazing with Carl Hooper. And they did one once on the Fast Show, and they did a whole video on anyone who just wants to talk about career driving. You can turn the video off now, because this is totally nothing to do with career driving. You can stop, please. I'll leave a space. But they did this thing, and it was all the sketches that couldn't go out for some reason. Either they didn't quite cut the mustard, or a lot of them were very, very close to the bone. And they showed all of these. It was brilliant. It was about an hour and a half, and it finished a bit like that just did. And then it was like this Morgan and Wise kind of set up of a curtain, and Simon Day, who apparently is all the Fast Show mobs say he's the funniest, and he come walking on, and he said, right. They say he's the funniest, he's so dry. He said they're all in tears of laughter, and he just stood there and he never cracks a smile. He's just so dry. And he walked in, he said, right, we're going to show you a sketch now. He said, which we could never show on the television for reasons that will become obvious. I hope you enjoy it. And then he walked off, and then it came on. That's Amazing with Carl Hooper. I think it's on YouTube. It's either called the Hurricane Sketch, and it's the one where it's Simon Day and Paul Whitehouse. It is the funniest thing I've ever seen. I mean, some of you are going to watch it and go, don't see what the fuss is about, Pete, to be honest with you. But I had it on video. I rewound that video 6 times and curled up and cried with laughter every single time. Absolutely love it. So if you do get the chance to go on YouTube, and why you're wasting time watching me, I don't know anyway. But look it up. Carl Hooper, That's Amazing, Fast Show sketch. Absolutely brilliant. In the meantime, I'm done. It's Friday. It's 3:30. 3:30? I shouldn't be done. I'll go home, add the videos. At least it gives me a bit of time. It means I don't now have to do them on Sunday, which is kind of fortunate because I'm seeing the transport manager. Hope you're well. Hope the man is in soon. Take care, take money.